that the people would come into nowhere.
Finland! Hi to everybody and dear ladies and gentlemen. So, she told you, my name is Minna Torkkola and I come from Finland, from nowhere. As she told me. From Rotrate, just nearby the Russian border. From Winterborn Museum. I would like to thank the organizers of this opportunity to come here. Thank you. The Winterborn Museum is the European most biggest museum of Winterborn, and it's located exactly in middle of nowhere, in a forest, in a wilderness. It's situated in the beginning of the road Rate, the Museum Rate Road. Yes, not yet. The Museum Rate Road. So that's the place where Finnish army defeated Russian huge army, and we are really proud of it because we are still independent. The museum was founded in 1992 by Suomussalmi city, but today it operates by business base. And now I would like to introduce you my loving husband, the owner and the interpreter of Winterborn Museum. Reima. Okay, thank you. Now the pictures. Reima is the son of Winterborn veteran. His father, Olavi Haapoja, served as a medical officer in the Second Winter War. And also he fought against Red Army in Rotrate. Reima learned from his father what healthy patriotism is. What our neighbor, Russia, what it is still today. And he has respected Finnish independence all his life. I can tell you that he has his heart with when he is operating and developing the museum. A little bit about our museum. Inside the museum building we have we have a continuation exhibition of Winter War 1939 up till 40, and some changing exhibitions. Today the changes are continuation of war 41-44, Germans built track, also known as track of death. Russian partisan attack corner, and the latest one Ukraine room now. And I have to tell you about the Russian partisans corner because the Russian partisans, they are not partisans as like here or in Europe. They are not fighting against the occupation. The Russian partisans had to come, they sent it to Finland to destroy military basements. But what they did in Finland, they killed families. They destroyed homes. And the youngest one, we know, the Russian partisans killed only 3 months old baby. So when yesterday we heard about story about partisans, and it was really good story, the Russian partisans are differently. Beside our museum there is an open monument, and there is ringing 105 winters, reminding of the 105 war days of Winter War. And it's 3-hectare stone field is around it with 17,000 flat stones. One stone for one soldier who fighted there in Rotrate from both sides, because dead soldier is a dead soldier, even if it's from Russia or Finland. We Finns, we lost about 900 soldiers on that war, that battle. Museum is in the middle of authentic battlefield with 19 kilometers long museum road, and it goes to border, Russian border. The closeness to the border, it brings its own atmosphere and excite. That's why there are also outside a lot of things to see. And with 100 hectares of outdoor area, there are about 7-kilometer guided paths. And those guides, they are signs for you.
Thank you.
Those tell visitors what has happened on that point. There are also reconstructs about sleeping pits of Red Army soldier, marked mass graves, foxholes, trenches, open fireplaces, and etc. Because the battlefield is still in a wilderness, you might find from forest some non-explosive grenades, bullet shells, and other items reminding of the war. Our guided paths, they are absolutely safety. When Reima bought this museum, there was only the building and the monument, little bit inside, but not so much. As soon as the forest tracks were ready, the customers stayed longer on our area. So they have something more than only the inside museum. And it's also allowed with the dogs to go outside. And I can tell you that the families who are on vacation, they have a lot of dogs with them. They also started to use our other facilities as, example, cafeteria headquarters and souvenir shop Motti. The personality of our museum can also be seen in cafeteria and the shop. Homemade traditional Finnish meat pies made from beef, and night donuts made by meat. In cafeteria, customer-sized t-shirts, knives, and origami military items from Second World War in the souvenir shop. When people plan their holiday, where to go and what to do, they always collect some money for the holiday. So, when you go in a destination, the money burns in your pocket. And Reima's idea is that we have to take that burning money, and we are managing it. That's quite a big part of our economy that comes from the shop and cafeteria. We share well-known and desired memories and collectibles of our museum and battlefield of Rotrad. Winter War Rattenportti offer you a taste of war period at our cafeteria, memories to take with, and reason to visit us together. That was announcement. About the cooperate and research, we don't do it by ourselves. We are plain museum, but of course we take part of them. And today's research is one of we take part is the field track, and it's also known as a track of death. The field track was a silence construction project of German at years 1942-44. 2 years building, 178 kilometers long railway track, built by prisoner's hand in middle of nowhere, through deep forest and swamps. A project with hundreds of deaths, from starvation, from hard labor, or from garden's bullet. When the Nazi Germany sent political and ideological prisoners to the railway construction, the company were no need to return. 4 months using, and then Finland had to dismantle it and hand it over the Soviet Union as one of the war reparations. So, stupid one, build a track in the forest, don't use it only a few years, 2 years, and now we are researching it. We are trying to find the place it goes, and there we can find a lot of items and bridges and so on. Reima is also doing it. We also support many parties to promote history studies. And at this moment, of course, also Ukrainian citizens who are struggling for their independence against the same enemy as we did. We in Rattenportti prefer the sensory experience and human life approaching to the history of war. We do it by telling visitors the life of soldiers and civilians during this wartime. To us, winter war is not only a battle of two armies, of two countries, numbers of divisions and calibers of weapons. To us, the history story of peoples, soldiers, generals, loppers, civilians, all Finns who fought for home, religion and homeland. Our desire is to tell the history due stories with authentic effects and sounds and feelings. And the stories, they are on a compact. They are not the story, the whole story all the time, but one person's short story. The museum has also miniature models and still lifes to visualize the overall picture of what happens then. For example, the real-life reconnaissance of the field track with real wartime sounds from Pesiä station is really important. Our visitors like it a lot. In the museum there are about 3,000 period objects as soldier clothing, guns, airplane, engine of Policarpo airplane traced from the bottom of Lake Pianta, Molotov cocktail, medical equipment and so on. Inside the building, the visitors will have accurate information about the winter war and its happenings. And they can travel through the wartime by settling into the life of local civilian or soldier. The versatile museum area respects Finnish soldiers and maintains the memory of heroes. Reaches about 30,000 visitors per one and summer. We are open only summer times. The most important battle for Finns, the winter wars, was it. We have then defended for our independence, real hard. Small number of Finland defeated the large and mighty Russian army, Red Army, with more than 10 times the number of men or armament. And then what happened in the winter war, I shortly tell you. In August 39, Soviet Union and Germany, the ideological enemies, made a non-aggression pact. There was also a secret protocol where they shared countries as benefited district, and I know Latvia were also in it. Russia wanted Finland. Also in that autumn, Finland noticed that also here in north, as a neighbor of Soviet Union, we have to be ready for war. So in October 39, Finnish government decided to order an extra exercise for all adult men. Even Finland prepared for 4 first attacks was surprised. Soviet Union attacked to Finland in the end of November through the whole autumn, without a declaration of war, trying to occupy Finland. In winter war, Russian call was to march through Finland from Prague to Oulu in 3 weeks, free the Finnish people from yoke of fascists. The Russian politics propaganda for the soldiers were that the Finns welcomed the liberators with open arms, rejoicing and offering them food, drink and warm lap. That's why they brought gifts to Finnish women and had example musical instruments and audio records for the party that will be organized in Oulu after 3 weeks. The Oulu is in the west coast of Finland. Propaganda was already in force at that time. The reality was different and surprised the soldiers of the Red Army. Instead of joy and warm love, they got icy steel. Highly motivated, united and skillful fighting army, which also had local knowledge and technical skills such as skiing. Because winter war, there was also snow. The entire people of independent Finland were ready to fight. The contribution of every Finn was needed to defeat the enemy that treated our independence. The fact that everyone participated according to their abilities and skills in the fight for the fatherland is called the spirit of winter war. When the war was broken out at Rotrate, only about few hundred Finns were present to stop the Russians' Division 44, which was considerately mainly Ukrainian soldiers. As we remember, there was no advance information about the attack. Reinforcements were sent from the nearby cities immediately after the attack began, yet the situation was that there was at least 10 Red Army soldiers against 1 Finn soldier. Finland did not have any money to equip its all soldiers. Part of the men had to defend home country in their own clothes and own weapons. They got maybe only a belt and cockade from the state. Nor did the Finnish army have any other weaponry. We had no artillery, no tanks, no anti-tank weapons, or airplanes to bring to defense the Rotrate and Finland. We did not get armed help from any Western country. Finland had to manage its own. Despite these shortcomings, Finland won the Battle of Rotrate, pushed the enemy back behind the border, and maintained its independence without ceding territory from that time. Finland, with very poorly equipped small army against a huge Red Army, reminds me as an old story about David and Goliath. Someone which were the clever one. Although the armament was poor, the Finns replaced them. For example, anti-tank weapons were replaced with homemade bottles, which were filled with flammable, sustainable. A piece of cloth was placed in the mouth of the bottle as a kindling wire, in an ignition wire to burn, a precious throw into the tank's airtake or side hole, kapoom! Effective weapon was born. This homemade incendiary bomb was named by Molotov, named the Molotov cocktail after the Soviet Union Minister of Foreign Affairs at that time. This cocktail is still served today by the defensive nation in Ukraine. The name perhaps changed to Lavrov cocktail. In addition to the spirit of the Winter War, the genius of the Finnish soldier, the combat skills, etc., helped achieving the right victory. Also skiing, frictional knowledge and competent on-site management did it. The successful destruction of the top tank by a few Finnish soldiers at River Kuoma, it's in the beginning of the Rotrate, and the bad tactics of the Red Army caused the troops to get stuck in a line on the narrow Rotrate. And here comes the Monty tactic, what is used in the Rotrate the first time. Monty tactic means that, imagine, there are about over 10,000, 15,000 enemies on a line. It's like a snake. First you have to kill the snake, cut the head off, and then put it in pieces. Surround and squeeze and kill one piece by one piece. That's the Monty tactic. And now also the foreign military armies, they are now visiting our museum and Rotrate to learn about the Monty tactic, how we did it on that day. Very poorly planned logistic of Russians. Maintenance placed last behind the attack section brought additional suffering for the Red Army. The enemy had, for example, a field bakery with them, but apart from the propaganda, they didn't even get flour from the fields. The Red Army soldiers had to go without food for days and horses even a week. In our museum, every item has a story. I don't remember the all, I remember only 2,999. But one of those stories is a story of the sledge with the bullet hole that we have in the museum. This story tells how surprising the situation was when the Russians attacked Finland. Matti Elo was a little bit over 20 years old, second lieutenant of Finnish army, served in a border, Juntusranta. It's less than 1 kilometer north from Rotrate, when winter war broke out. Under his command was a department of about 40 men, tasked with guarding the border for about 80 kilometers. On the first day of war, the Red Army Division 163, over 10,000 Russian Red Army men, crossed the border of Juntusranta and proceeded quickly towards the village. There was no way the unit led by Elo could stop the enemy from advancing. Elo asked from headquarters for more men, but there was no report as large numbers of enemies in that direction. He called to the headquarters and had answered no. Then he wanted that his men could have some help to defend Finland. He took a sledge and horse and went to the headquarters. There was Lieutenant Colonel Puander in the headquarters. He did not believe the announcement of the Elo. And he shouted, "It's completely worthless team. I don't understand how you can stop and destroy one small enemy patrol. There can be no more men." Elo failed. The pressure of failing in the defense task, the distrust and feeling of betraying his men became too heavy for young second lieutenant. On the way back to his troops with his sledge, he took his boot out and fired his rifle with his toe, shooting himself into that sledge. The responsibility had been too heavy and the circumstances of the surprising attack without advance information too overwhelming. Having tried everything and still failed, getting disappointment and distrust from his superiors, the young second lieutenant could not forgive himself. This kind of stories, sad and good ones, interest our customers a lot. When we have customers like school students or other young people, we concentrate on the stories. I think they have heard and they have to learn years, dates, names and military ranks enough at school. We don't use them when we have children with. In order to keep the customers interested in our museum, our task as a museum is to bring history and the events and consequences of the Winter War to life with the help of people, their personal events and contemporary stories in a human-like and clear way, taking into account the listener age and life experience. And someone told that it's not so easy to do it without thinking that the listeners are dumb. It's not. Our museum is open only at summertime, so most of our customers are on vacation who appreciate that. For example, the whole family is taken account in the service. It is not at all surprising that the director of the museum, Reima, is showing magic tricks to the children while someone else is selling the family tickets to the museum. There have been numerous interesting discussions with the school groups, example the time of the Winter War vice the Russian attack to Ukraine. And there we also have to be careful but tell the truth, what happens now and what happens then. Our goal or purpose is not to be an amusement park or show stage, but we can bring the knowledge of war and history to people with dash of personality, hint of humor, and with plenty of flexibility. And to the end, sorry, I'm going to cry for a moment. I'm going to tell a story, another story, and this is a fine story. And this is a story where you find also reason why Reima is today a museum now. This is a true story of wonder of war. Finnish soldier never leaves a friend. Soldiers from the frontline battle area move all the wounded and dead to the rear of the front, either to be carried for or to be cared for or transported to home to be buried in the churchyard of their own village. The bodies of the dead were gathered in a pile outside the mass dying site, two-way transportation. One Lotta is a non-armed woman in war, passed by the bodies, and she thought someone was moving. She went to medical officer Haapoja in the tent to tell him that there was movement in the pile of the yard. They went together to check the situation, and sure enough, someone is moving. Among the dead was a soldier who had a head injury and was tightly bandaged over his head. He has been apparently unconscious during the transfer. Olavi and medical assistant Lotta moved the wounded soldier inside the tent. Olavi started to warn the wounded man and talk to him calm the soldier. There is nothing to worry about anymore. You will survive and you will be home soon. The wounded soldier woke up, listened carefully and asked curiously, "Are you Olavi?" To which Olavi was surprised and answered, "Yes, I'm Olavi Haapoja." Wounded soldier answered from under the bandages with trembling voice, "I'm your brother Toivo." Thank you.
Questions? Online questions?
So we have 3 questions coming to your this Slido, and one of the most popular kind of question is you talked about that our museum is private, and I know for sure we have at least 2 private museum representatives from 2 private museums here in Latvia. And they're, I guess, maybe not there, but they would like to hear your answer. How do you maintain the museum? Is it always those 30,000 visitors coming to the museum and paying? Do you have any, I don't know, state support, any programs, anything like that? How do you keep going, being just a private museum?
We keep going as a private museum with Reima's head and our hands. We don't get anything from our state. And those 30,000, about 30,000 people, they give us the bread, and because we have the souvenir shop and also the cafeteria, we have some extra money from there. I asked something from Reima. Kuinka suuri osuus sen myynnistä se on se esimerkiksi motin myynti? Okay. Okay, I asked how much is our souvenir shop sell of our whole money. It's about 30%. Okay. Wow. It's quite well. So, and it's easy money. You don't have to do anything.
Easy? It's not easy.
When the items are once in a shell, then they go by themselves.
Okay, thank you. So I guess if Latvian private museums would like to succeed, you have to borrow Reima's cash. That is the short answer. So, and the other answer, you talked about your open in summer. That's the reason I guess you might be here right now. And you talked about most of your customers are families coming with kids and with children. Do you have any special school programs, let's say for a class, that the whole class is arriving at your museum? Do you have any specific for them that they could learn and go through different topics?
beginning of the summer, before the school summer end, and the beginning of the autumn, when the schools already have started, we have also school groups. Of course, we wanted them much more, because it's so important to schools to give the history. And every time we have a group of veterans, of schools, of normal people, not like me. We have a little bit different. We take them a little bit differently. We have in the internet some kind of programs, example programs, but I want every time to discuss a little bit before the group comes, so I know what they wanted and what I can tell them and what not. And we are using a professional guides. We don't have guides of our own, because I learned Yanks. Yes, NATO army and Haapoja, what is multi-tactic. They didn't know it, now they know. Every time we try to take before to discuss of it.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. There's one more question